Most of us probably have a friend or a relative, perhaps, with a hearing problem. You think about people who have issues with their hearing. You imagine how you'd feel, I don't know, maybe at a big event like a Christmas or a New Year's party, and you're struggling to hear what people are saying. It can kind of, I guess, leave you feeling a little bit left out. The Cambridgeshire Deaf Association is launching the new year with a new friendship club. It's in the city of Peterborough. Andrew Palmer is their chief executive. He's on the line now. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
Can you first of all just tell me a little bit about the work that you do to help people with hearing problems?
Yeah, so we support people in all sorts of ways. I think with respect to people who are losing their hearing with age, across Cambridgeshire, we provide 17 different drop-ins for people to go and have their hearing aids maintained, batteries changed, people who might struggle to do that themselves, and also provide people with a little bit of a social outlet and provide people with some information about how they can keep connected to their friends and family. And then on top of that, for people who have been deaf all their lives, we run befriending schemes. We've got about 70 volunteers and 50 staff. We provide personal care, advocacy, community events. I think about 400 people a month turn up to our community events. So we've got quite a lot going on.
Blimey, that sounds great that you're helping so many. And I mentioned just at the beginning of this, if you are someone that struggles with your hearing and, you know, you're at some kind of social event, you can kind of feel left out, can't you? And if you're not catching what everyone's saying, it's an awful thing to experience that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think a lot of people say that is definitely an impact of having a bit of hearing loss and feeling a bit isolated. Especially people start to notice it more probably when they're in crowds of people. So in really kind of social events, maybe at the pub or at the restaurant, places where there's a lot of background noise, people start to notice in those situations that maybe they're not enjoying themselves like they used to. And what that can lead to is people then maybe declining to go or just kind of coming out of social situations as much as they used to. And that can have knock-on effects, unfortunately, for mental health. So it's really important that people recognise when they've got a bit of hearing loss, and then we can support people with that to get hearing aids and to stay connected with people they love. There's no need to lead a second-class life because of hearing loss. So that's what this club's all about.
And why? We'll talk about the club in a bit more detail in a minute, but I'm just wondering why you're so passionate about helping people with hearing. Has it affected you or family members?
Well, funnily enough, actually, I've got an app on my iPhone to check out, because I started to notice in the pub and in the restaurant, I was struggling to hear a bit. And I'm 44 years old, and my hearing loss has I've got hearing loss in the higher frequencies, which is going to make it harder for me to hear conversations, especially in noisy environments. But on top of that, I've got a son who's deaf. He's 22 years old now, so he's kind of grown up and left. Mum and dad are also deaf, and I've been a sign language user my whole life. I've got deaf uncles and aunties and deaf pals. So, yeah, so it's a kind of topic that's close to my heart. But especially working with the association and meeting lots of people who don't have the life experience or confidence that I've got or members of my family have got with it, because it's happened to them quite late in life. So no one around them's prepared to deal with someone with hearing loss. They haven't got the strategy to deal with it or the confidence. So that's part of the reason why we're doing this now, because for it to happen later on in life, in some ways, can have a much different impact.
Interesting. I was reading that 12 million individuals experience hearing loss, and the same article said only 40% of those who need hearing aids utilise them. That's staggering, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy. I think there's a stigma associated with hearing aids in society. I think people see it as a sign of ageing, and also, I think that's probably what it is, really, a sign of ageing. And people might start to treat you differently if they think you're deaf, and I think deaf people are definitely aware of that experience of being treated differently just because they're deaf. But so a lot of them do end up in drawers and don't get worn. People are a bit afraid. Now, the issue with that is, that's okay, but the longer you leave it before you start using hearing aids, the bigger the adjustment's going to be. So it takes people about 10 years to recognise they've got hearing loss and do something about it. Yeah. So if you imagine what your hearing is like 10 years ago, and then you replicate that, the brain can really struggle to cope with that change in sound, which can also have its own mental health issue, because you might feel that it's a bit of a lost cause, you won't use the hearing aids, and it might feel like a bit of a dead end. So the really important thing is to get hearing aids as quickly as possible. But I've just seen recently on some tech websites that Apple have got a patent in for using earpods as potential hearing aids. So it might be that hearing aids could be a thing of the past, and it might be that you just have a cool pair of earpods in your ear, and they might do the same trick.
Wow. I mean, that would sound like something that would interest a lot of people that are sort of going through issues with their hearing, because, there's no stigma attached to that, is there?
Definitely not. So, I mean, it's not out yet. People can already use an iPhone as a hearing aid. It's already possible, but it's not, sort of their bespoke technology. So I think they're going to enter that market within the next couple of years, and I think that'll be transformative.
One final question, Andrew. We mentioned that you've set up this friendship group. It opens on the 8th of January. Where and do people need to book?
No, just come along. It's at the Park Inn Hotel. Park Inn are a great partner of Cambridgeshire Deaf Association and host many of our events. So it's at the Park Inn Hotel, which is on Wentworth Street in the centre of Peterborough. Great venue. It starts on Monday the 8th. It's going to start monthly. Starts at 1 p.m. Just come along. It'll be a friendly atmosphere, and hopefully people with hearing loss will come along and feel like they've found some kin and can learn some tips to stay connected.
Excellent. Well, I wish you well with it, and thank you for joining us today. Andrew Palmer is the Chief Executive of the Cambridgeshire Deaf Association.